All right, guys, welcome back to Zando Football. Definitely appreciate the support. In this video, I want to get into a little bit of a more detailed explanation on the safety midpoint feature. Here I have cover 2. And we're going to take a look at safety midpoint to the left. All right. And essentially, I think what's most important in understanding how they're going to line up is you got to think between the double high safety defenses and the single high safety defenses. All right. So with double high, which means 2 safeties deep pre-snap. All right. This is where you get your cover 4s, your 2 zones, 2 mans. Okay. And I always throw cover 0 in that bracket. And then you have your single high stuff, which would be your cover 3s and your cover 1. All right. We're going to take a look at the double high safety stuff first. Okay. And then we'll move on to single high. And once you get the first, I would say 3 minutes of this, everything will come together for you. All right. So here I have safety midpoint to the left. All right. And you can see how they line up. All right. And I'm going to switch between multiple double high coverages. So this is cover 4 quarters, cover 4 palms, 2 man. All right, they all look the same. I want you to ignore cover 0. I would never use this with cover 0, the safety midpoint feature. I think this is a bug. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to move the ball to the left hash, and I have safety midpoint to the left. I'm going to move it back to the right hash now, and now we will get into some explanations here. All right, so essentially what we're doing, all right, if you think about both safeties, think about the middle, right? The middle between both safeties and a double high defense. So if I were to draw a line in between these guys, let's say, this is the midpoint between both of us. All right, what safety midpoint does, right now we have it on left. All right, what I'm telling the defense is, when I call cover 2, cover 4, double high safety defense, I want the midpoint to favor the left hash because I have left safety midpoint on. And this is with cover 2. I want the midpoint between both of you guys to favor the left hash. Okay. Because originally, if I didn't have safety midpoint on, these guys would align in the default position and they would be more so like this, right? Where the midpoint kind of is down the center. Okay, but when I pick safety midpoint left, I want the center line between both safeties, if this is their default position, okay, I want it to favor this hash, which means you guys are both going to shift from your original position to where they are now, all right? I hope I didn't overclutter things there. It'll start making sense. Okay, now I don't want you to get into why you would use a safety midpoint in different situations if you don't know what it means. I think it's important to just know what it means first and then move on to why you would want to use it. All right. So this is safety midpoint left. And now we're going to move the ball to the left hash, cover 2. All right. Again, I have safety midpoint left, which means the midpoint or the center between both of these safeties, I want it to favor this hash, which is why we are aligned in this position here. All right. All right, so I went back to the right hash. And now I'm going to put it back. I see in the middle. I don't even know what that acronym means because I recorded this so long ago. All right, so we're going to change it to safety midpoint right. All right, so now we're going to get into some comparisons here. All right, so we got cover 2 called. We got safety midpoint right. Again, what does this mean? The middle point in between both of the safeties and a double high safety, I want it to favor this hash. All right. So now, you know what? I'll do this. This is safety midpoint right. This is where both of the safeties are. And let's move this to this is default, right? So you could see the difference, right? When we put safety midpoint right, okay, notice how both safeties shift to these 2 positions. This is where I drew where they were in safety midpoint right. In default, okay, the center line, if if you draw, you know, the distance between both of these safeties favors more so down the middle. But when you put in safety midpoint right, okay, this is where the left safety is. This is where the right safety is. That midpoint favors the right hash, right? So I hope this is making some sense here. All right, we'll move forward. Hopefully there's no static there. That usually happens when I move my hand. So I gotta fix that. So we'll go back to safety midpoint right. And you can take a look at all of the different coverages from double high. You get cover 4/4. Okay, as you can see, our position along the horizontal plane doesn't change, but our depth may change depending on the defense. Okay, but again, safety midpoint right, we are favoring the right hash. All right, again, I would not use cover 0 with this. You get kind of mixed up with a lot of different stuff. I think it's bugged. All right, so now we're gonna move on, I believe. Okay, I'll move this to the left hash. And this, again, this is with safety midpoint to the right, so we are favoring the right hash. Notice how when the bunch is to the right and the ball's on the left hash, so they have the bunch to the wide side. Okay, when we call a double high safety defense, we want the middle point between both safeties to favor the right hash, or in other words, we are leaning more to the right. Okay, that's what that essentially means. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and move forward. Okay, look at cover 0. You see how I would not call this? Don't use this with cover 0. This is something that they definitely need to look into. All right, we're gonna move the ball in the right hash. Again, this is safety midpoint right. And I believe at some point I'm gonna move on to strong and left. I believe we're gonna do that now. So, okay, now you know right and left. What does strong and weak mean? Well, that's why I think it's important. So now that you know left and right, you know how they are going to align no matter what. Okay, what changes is what they are basing their alignment on. When you pick right hash and left hash, okay, they're not basing their alignment on how the offense lines up no matter what. It's just strictly based upon where the right hash is or the left hash is, right? So this is safety midpoint strong. All right, so I'll draw where the safeties are. And I guarantee you when we compare this to safety midpoint right, they're gonna be aligned the same exact way. So now I'll go to safety midpoint right, and there it is. So you're wondering, okay, well, what's the difference, right? There's no difference between right and strong. There is a difference, all right? And the difference is how the defense lines up. See, when you pick safety midpoint right, we don't care how the defense lines up, okay? We don't care if they put the passing strength to the right or to the left. I want both of my safeties to lean with their midpoint on the right hash. But when you pick safety midpoint strong and weak, then it does matter where the offense lines up. I want you guys with safety midpoint strong, I want you guys to favor the hash that is on the passing strength side, okay? Passing strength, if you count the receivers outside in, you draw a line down the center, all right? They have 3 receivers to the right, and they have 2 receiving threats to the left. So the passing strength is to the right. So when I have passing strength strong, I want both of my safeties to favor the hash that is on the passing strength side, which would be this hash. So we're leaning with our midpoint on this guy. That's why it looks the same as passing strength right. Okay, it just so happens that they lined up in a way to where everything would look the same if you picked right or left. Excuse me, if you picked right. All right, we'll move forward if that didn't make any sense. It will make sense. It'll start clicking. All right, we'll move the ball back to the middle. This is passing strength strong. Okay, this is to the left. Okay, so now where's the passing strength? I'm all over the place with that. I guess I want to go ahead and get to weak. All right, so the passing strength is where? To the right or to the left? Well, it's to the right, right? Because they have 3 receiving threats to the right, and they have 2 receiving threats to the left. So this is the passing strength over here. So when we pick passing midpoint to the weak side, then I want my safeties I want their midpoint to favor the hash that's away from the passing strength. Okay, so as you can see, if we were to pick passing strength, I keep mixing up my words here. If we were to pick passing safety midpoint to the right or passing midpoint strong, then the safeties would have been aligned more so like this. Their midpoint would have favored this hash, all right? But with weak, we want to be away from the passing strength. So we'll favor the hash away from the passing strength, all right? Sorry if I'm twisting up my words. There's a lot of similar words with this video, all right? So this is very interesting, all right? So this is where we get into some interesting stuff, okay? Look at how the safeties are aligned when they align with, so the ball's on the right hash, and let's say they want to align with the passing strength on the weak side, on the boundary side. And we pick safety midpoint weak. Look at how we are aligned. This safety is way over here, and this safety is way over here. Why is that? That's because the passing strength is to the right, but I want you guys midpoint to favor the hash that's away from the passing strength. That's why we are aligned in such a unique way here. And right away, you could see why you may want to call safety midpoint weak in a situation like this. Depends on the defense that you have called. Right away, what I like about this is we give the illusion, because remember, we called a double high safety defense. We give the illusion that we are in a single high coverage. This looks like cover 3 in a way, or some type of cover 1. So this is something you can use to kind of get into some disguise. But then you can also use this to get in better leverage points against the formation that they have called with the defense that you have called. Okay, and I think I will get into that soon. All right, so I will change this to cover 4 quarters. All right. And maybe I shouldn't do this now, but I think I will. Trying to catch myself here. There it is. I missed it. Okay, let's cover 4 palms. Yeah, I'll do it later. Again, cover 0, that's horrible. I mean, that's got to be bugged. They got to do something with that. All right. So you notice between, okay, I'll do it here. All right. So we have it in weak, and it looks like we're in single high when they align formation into the boundary. Okay. And when you call cover 4 quarters, what do? They are in a box type coverage where this guy's going to take the first inside underneath. He's going to take the first first outside underneath. He's going to take the first deep into the outside. He's going to take the first deep into the inside. The reason why I like this is because our deep middle safety in default, this guy here, if we didn't have safety midpoint weak here, he would be aligned more so here, okay? And you could think about, let's draw up a route combination here. Let's do something funky. This guy goes out, he runs a post, and this guy runs a corner, all right? Well, now the safety is in better position to defend. Maybe not better position, but he's way more inside to attach to this route. Okay, and this guy would take this, he would take that. He would want to seal this off and then get vision on the quarterback. I like this red here. Okay, but in default position, the safety would be more so here, and he would still have inside position. Okay. But, you know, this may be something where, hey, look, I want to call this with cover 4 quarters because we're going to give the illusion that we are in single high. And then on top of that, he will be further inside to attach to inside breaking routes. I really, really like that red. Start using red more. Okay. So that's just something to think about. But I think I will move forward here. All right, so now we're going to get into field and boundary, all right? And what field simply means, the alignments are the same, right? So this would be, if we ignored all of this, if we picked safety midpoint weak, they would align just like this in this situation. But what safety midpoint field and boundary means is, instead of it being predicated on which hash, instead of it being predicated on the passing strength, I want it dictated. I want you guys, where you line up or where your midpoint to favor, to be predicated on where the field is and where the boundary is. All right. So if we draw a line down the center of the offense, okay, being that we're on the right hash, this is the boundary side and this is the field side. The field side has more space relative to the boundary side because we are on the right hash. So when I picked safety midpoint field, I want my safety's midpoint to favor the hash that is on the field side. I don't care where the offense put the passing strength. All right, that's what that means. If I pick safety midpoint boundary, then I don't care where the offense lines up or where they put the passing strength. If they were to put the passing strength over here, I don't care. I want my safety's midpoint to favor the boundary hash. That's all that means, okay? Now, why you would want to pick strong, weak, field, boundary, right, left, we can get into all that maybe in a different video, but I'm pretty sure you can come up with different reasons and why you want to call this type of stuff. All right, so I'll go through some of these defenses here, and I think we will close this out pretty soon. We'll get into single high. Okay, so here's an example of why you may want to call weak. I thought of here is when you get something like this, where, oh man, it's just, okay, so you got 4 strong. A lot of guys have issues with understanding how they match against 4 strong. I'll go over this quickly with palms. The way palms will match 4 strong, palms is the easiest one to understand. He's going to be Meg, all right, and he's going to be locked on this guy. That's all you really need to know. And then now you know we're going to get a 3 on 2 here, all right, and then the safety is going to cut the 1 if he goes on a shallow route, or play hash control. The corner is going to take number 1 man to man unless he goes on a shallow route. If he goes on a shallow route, then he's going to play hash control. But if he runs anything other than that, then he's supposed to match this route. All right, so that's how palms play it. All right, palms, this guy, safety is a 3-2 read. This guy is a 3-2 read. All right, this is where we're getting our triangle coverage on these 2 inner receivers. And then this is our 3 rec. All right. So if this guy goes out, the nickel will take that route man to man. But if the number 3 goes vertical, this is why it's important to learn stubby, how quarters and palms plays against trips. Because once you learn that, then when you get into this 4 strong stuff and you can go to the practice field, you know exactly what's going on, right? So if this guy goes vertical, this guy goes vertical, well, he's going to match that route, and then I'm going to match this route, all right? But where it changes is where number 3 goes out. Well, then now I'm going to match this route, and then now I take the vertical of number 2, all right? So this is how palms plays against 4 strong. I'll make a separate video on this. I just wanted to quickly go over that to get into why you want to call weak rotation, safety midpoint weak. Let's say they're running trips or 4 strong, and you want to call stubby or cover 4 palms. The reason why I would like weak is because our safeties are going to favor this hash, which would switch this safety to move over left. This safety moves over this way, all right? And I like it because our safety here is now inside of the number 3. Okay, so if you get a route combination, let's say we get, this guy runs a post, like double post here. All right. I would say that he's in better position to defend this route as opposed to his default position where he's aligned here, right? Now when you run a post, he's got to climb over and take this route. I like this better while in cover 4 palms. Now, if we get a route combination like, man, I really like this red, where he goes out and he goes on a post, what would happen? Well, now he's going to take this route, and then now you got to take this route, all right? So, you know what? I'm going to have to get into a different video in why, in each one, probably weak, strong, left, right. I've already made a video on strong, you know, field boundary, why you would want to call these different midpoints in different situations. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other different reasons you guys can come up with that I don't know about. Okay. But the whole point of this video is for you to kind of get a better understanding of what it is. What does it mean? Okay. And maybe different videos we can get into the whys. Okay, this is the default position. So you see the difference, right? Cover 4 palms. Default, he's here, but weak, they're favoring this hash, right? So when you put weak, when we call this coverage, he's aligned here, right? So if we run a post, he's in better position to defend that as opposed to his default position while playing cover 4 palms. Now, if you call cover 4 quarters, you may want to call a different midpoint, right? Okay, so, you know, there's just a lot of variations with, you know, why you want to do different stuff in football. You know, the different variations of different things are endless. And, you know, that's why football is a very unique sport. Okay, it's not checkers. It's more so chess. So here I'm showing him playing his responsibility on number 2, running a route with better inside position when we have safety midpoint weak. So I believe now I'm going to get into the single high stuff. Yep. Okay, so this would be even more simpler. I hope that's a word. This would be more simple. So when you call a single high defense, very simple. All right. Well, now it's not 2 safeties deep. It's just 1. So he's going to favor whatever hash that you have called. So safety midpoint weak, right? Where's the strong side of where's the passing strength? To the right. Okay, so I want you to favor the weak hash. And that's exactly where he is. Okay. There's no midpoint, so to speak, when you call it single high defense because there's only 1 safety. The middle is down his center line, right? But between 2 safeties, the middle is the distance between both of the safeties. Okay. So if I were to pick weak, let's say we called strong, where you think he would have aligned. If we called cover 1 hole, he would have aligned here. Okay. If we would have picked field, he would have aligned here. If we would have picked weak, boundary, he would have aligned here, etc. Okay. So, I mean, that's the end of single high. You pick cover 3 sky, it's the same thing. Okay. But now I want to show you something where, well, what if we call a defense like nickel sim 2? Okay. This is a double high defense, but it's a defense where pre-snap, it is a disguised defense. Okay. Because pre-snap, when you call nickel sim 2, they align with a single high presentation. And then we rotate into a double high. Okay. So how do they align? Well, they align as if they were a single high defense. So it's based upon your pre-snap presentation. The pre-snap presentation of cover 1 hole, well, we show that we're in single high. The pre-snap presentation of cover 3 sky, well, we show that we are in single high. All right. So we are going to align when you pick weak, the single high safety is going to align on the weak hash. You pick strong, he would align here, right? But in a coverage like nickel sim 2, where we give the illusion that we are in a single high coverage by aligning in a single high defense pre-snap, well, now whatever one you pick, we're going to align as if we're in single high. So if I picked strong midpoint while picking this defense, this safety would align on the strong side hash. Okay. So I hope that makes sense there. So again, that's something you can use. Okay, so this is something you can use to get into different disguised coverages, maybe better leverage points, anchor points for your defense, etc. The same is different because you have double high safety defenses, you have single high defenses, safety defenses. Then you have double high safety defenses that give a single high presentation pre-snap. Okay. Then you have single high safety defenses that give a double high safety defense presentation pre-snap. Okay, a lot of tongue twisters there. All right, everything's predicated on how you align pre-snap. Okay, so I showed you a defense that gives the illusion that we are in a single high defense, and we're going to rotate into a double high post snap. Well, your safety midpoints will put that single high safety where you want them. Okay, but what about this is cover 3 cloud? All right, and it's really a single high coverage. Closing the post, cloud, hook curl. Okay, this is really a single high defense, but it gives a double high pre-snap presentation. So how will they align? Well, they will align the same way they would in a regular double high safety defense, right? So if I picked left hash, these guys are going to treat their midpoint on the left hash, even though you're a single high defense post snap. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get out of this. All right. So I think I'll leave it at that, guys. You know, hopefully this gives some type of insight. It seems like it's complicated, but it's really not. I think once you understand left and right, okay, then it's easy to understand. You just have to understand strong and weak, field and boundary. They're just based upon how the offense aligns with the passing strength when it comes to strong and weak, or where the field and the boundary is with field and boundary. So it depends on where the ball is. Okay, so if the ball is on the right hash and you picked safety midpoint strong, then your safeties are going to midpoint. So if the ball is here, and let's say you pick safety midpoint strong, then their midpoint is going to favor the right hash because that's on the passing strength of the formation. In this situation, if we picked field, then we're going to favor the field hash, which is this hash, because the ball is on the right hash and this is the field side, right? It's the only difference. All right. So I think I will leave it at that. Maybe I'll get into videos on the alignments with I think they have pinch, wide alignment and all that. And then you can mix and match with all these to get into different variants. I mean, there's an infinite amount of variants you can come up with all this stuff, but it's kind of fun to know what they are, and then you can kind of get into your own mode strategy wise and why you would want to use this. I'll leave it at that. I hope you got something from this video, and I hope you keep coming back for more, man. Peace.